The call came at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday night. I was sitting in my home office, reviewing project files for a construction company I owned, when my phone lit up with an unknown number. The screen glowed in the darkness of the room. Normally, I would have ignored it. Calls this late were usually spam or wrong numbers. But something made me answer. Call it intuition. Call it fate. Whatever it was, it changed everything. Is this Marcus Webb? A woman's voice. Shaky, like she had been crying for hours. Yes. Who is this? My name is Claire Donovan. You don't know me, but I know your wife. She paused, and I could hear her taking a deep breath. I know what she's been doing. My blood ran cold. The comfortable warmth of the office seemed to drain away in an instant. Vanessa was 8 months pregnant. She was upstairs right now, sleeping peacefully in our bed. The baby was due in 5 weeks. We had just finished decorating the nursery last weekend. What are you talking about? I asked, my voice suddenly dry. That baby she's carrying, Claire said, her voice cracked on the words. It's not yours. It's my husband's. The words hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The room spun. I gripped the edge of my desk, so hard my knuckles turned white. That's impossible, I heard myself say. We've been married for 3 years. We've been trying to have this baby for 18 months, Claire finished. I know. She told Derek everything. I read every message. I've seen the photos. I know exactly how long this has been going on. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My vision started to blur around the edges. This had to be a mistake. This had to be some kind of sick prank. Who is Derek? I asked, even though part of me already knew I didn't want to hear the answer. My husband, he works at your wife's company. They've been seeing each other for over 14 months. She paused again. I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm so sorry. But I thought you deserved to know. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm 34 years old, and until that phone call, I thought I had the perfect life. I grew up in Delbrook, a mid-sized town in Massachusetts, about an hour outside of Boston. My father was a carpenter, one of the best in the county. He could build anything with his hands. Cabinets, furniture, entire houses from the ground up. He taught me everything about the trade before he passed from a heart attack when I was 22. I was devastated. My father was my hero, my mentor, my best friend. After his funeral, I didn't know what to do with myself. I spent weeks just sitting in his workshop, surrounded by his tools, breathing in the sawdust and the memories. But eventually, I picked up those tools and got to work. I used everything he taught me to start Webb Construction, a company that grew from a 2-man crew working out my garage to a $7 million operation in 12 years. Today, we build custom homes, commercial properties, and renovation projects across 3 counties. I employ 47 people. I've won industry awards. I've built something I'm proud of. I met Vanessa Mitchell at a charity event 5 years ago. It was a fundraiser for a children's hospital, and I had just written a check for $50,000, one of the larger donations of the evening. She approached me at the bar afterward. That was very generous, she said, sliding onto the stool next to me. She was 26 years old, beautiful, with dark hair that fell past her shoulders and a smile that could light up a room. The cause is worth it, I replied, trying not to stare. In Vanessa, she extended her hand. Marcus. We talked for 3 hours that night. She worked as a marketing coordinator for a consulting firm downtown, and I was immediately drawn to her energy, her ambition, her warmth. She asked me questions about my work, listened like she genuinely cared, laughed at my terrible jokes. By the end of the evening, I had her number, and I knew I was going to call her. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. The wedding was small but elegant, just family and close friends at a vineyard outside Boston. The sunset painted the sky orange and pink as we exchanged vows. She cried when she said, I do. So did I. When she told me she was pregnant, I felt like my life was finally complete. I had the business. I had the house. I had the woman I loved. And now, a baby on the way. But now, Standing in my office with the phone pressed to my ear, all that shattered like glass hitting concrete. How do you know this? I asked Claire, my voice barely above a whisper, because I found everything on Direct's phone last week. He left it unlocked on the kitchen counter while he was in the shower. I wasn't even suspicious. I was just going to check the weather. And then I saw a notification from someone named V with a heart emoji. She paused, her voice breaking. I opened the messages, and I read everything. Months and months of conversations. Photos, plans, everything. A year. Vanessa and I had been trying to get pregnant for almost 18 months. We had appointments with fertility specialists. We had tracked her cycle, used ovulation kits, done everything the doctors recommended. We had finally succeeded 9 months ago, or so I thought. I don't believe you, I said, though even as the words left my mouth, I felt the truth settling in my gut like a stone. I have proof, Claire said. Messages, photos, dates, hotel receipts, everything. I've been debating whether to call you for the past week. I've barely slept. I've barely eaten. But I kept thinking, if I were in your position, I would want to know. I couldn't let you raise another man's child without knowing the truth. I closed my eyes. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my temples. Can we meet? I asked. 2 days later, I met Claire Donovan at a coffee shop 30 miles from town. I chose a location where no one would recognize us. A small, quiet place in a strip mall off the highway. The kind of place people pass through without a second thought. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a cup of tea in front of her. She was in her early 30s, with light brown hair tied back in a ponytail and tired eyes that told me she hadn't slept much lately. She was pretty in a quiet way, the kind of woman you might overlook at first, but find yourself thinking about later. Thank you for coming, she said as I sat down across from her. Just show me, I replied. I wasn't in the mood for small talk. The drive over had been torture. 30 minutes of gripping the steering wheel and trying not to scream. Claire slid her phone across the table. I picked it up and started scrolling. The first message was dated 14 months ago. Derek, last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. Vanessa, I know. I felt things I haven't felt in years. Marcus doesn't look at me the way you do. Derek, he doesn't deserve you. Vanessa, sometimes I think you're right. My stomach clenched. I kept scrolling. There were hundreds of messages. Flirty at first, then increasingly intimate. They talked about everything. Their days at work, their frustrations, their dreams. They complained about their spouses. They made plans to meet. They shared inside jokes. And then there were the photos. Vanessa and Derek at restaurants, leaning close together over candlelit tables. Vanessa and Derek at hotels. Selfies in bathrobes. Champagne bottles visible in the background. Vanessa and Derek in his car, parked somewhere secluded, her head on his shoulder. One photo showed Vanessa laughing, her hand on Derek's chest, looking at him with an expression of pure adoration, the way she used to look at me. My hand started shaking. Then I found a message that destroyed me. Vanessa, the test came back positive. I'm pregnant. Derek, are you serious? Are you sure it's mine? Vanessa, I haven't slept with Marcus in almost 3 months. He's been so busy with work. He barely notices. He doesn't suspect anything. He thinks we're just having trouble conceiving. Derek, what are you going to do? Vanessa, what do you think? He's rich. He'll take care of everything. He'll stay with him until the baby is born, maybe longer. He'll think it's his. He'll be thrilled. And you and I can figure out the rest later. Derek, you're amazing, you know that? Vanessa, I know. I read those words 3 times, each time feeling something inside me die. My chest felt hollow. My throat tightened. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive home and confront her right now. But I didn't. Claire reached over and gently took the phone back. I'm sorry, Marcus. I know how much this hurts. Believe me, I know. I looked at her. Her eyes were red-rimmed. She had been crying, too. How long have you known about the affair? I asked. Only a week. But looking back, I should have seen the signs for months. Derek coming home late, being secretive with his phone, making excuses to miss family dinners, taking business trips on weekends. She shook her head. I thought he was stressed about work. I thought our marriage was just going through a rough patch. I trusted him. So did I said. I trusted her. We sat in silence for a long moment. The coffee shop was nearly empty. Just a barista wiping down the counter, and an old man reading a newspaper by the window. The normalcy of it felt obscene. Then Claire spoke again. What are you going to do? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. But I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going to raise another man's child while my wife laughed behind my back. I wasn't going to be the fool in this story. I need time to think, I said finally. But whatever I do, I'm going to do it right. I'm not going to give her any warning. Claire nodded. If you need anything, more evidence, support, anything, I'm here. We're in this together, whether we like it or not. I looked at her across the table. Two strangers, brought together by the betrayals of the people we loved. It should have been awkward. It should have been uncomfortable. But somehow it wasn't. If you're still watching, you're probably wondering how I handled the situation. Before I tell you, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now. This channel shares stories of betrayal, revenge, and ultimate karma. Stories about people who thought they could get away with it. And what happened when they couldn't? Drop a comment below. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have confronted her immediately? Would you have walked away? Or would you have played the long game like I did? Smash that like button if you believe cheaters deserve what's coming to them. Now, let me tell you what happened next, because this is where the story gets interesting. The next 3 weeks were the hardest of my life. I pretended everything was normal. I went to work. I managed my crews. I attended project meetings and signed contracts and dealt with suppliers. I came home at the usual time, kissed Vanessa on the forehead, and asked about her day. How are you feeling? I would ask, my hand on her swollen belly. Tired, but good, she would say. The baby's been kicking a lot today. I think he knows his daddy's home. Every time she said the word daddy, something twisted in my chest. But I kept smiling. I kept pretending. At night, I lay next to her in bed, unable to sleep, replaying those messages in my head. The image of her with Derek burned into my brain like a brand. I haven't slept with Marcus in almost 3 months. He's rich. He'll take care of everything. He thinks we're just having trouble conceiving. But I wasn't just suffering in silence. I was gathering evidence. I hired a private investigator, a former FBI agent named Richard Brennan, who came highly recommended by my attorney. He was expensive, $500 a day plus expenses, but worth every penny. Within 2 weeks, he had compiled a complete dossier on Vanessa's affair. Hotel receipts from 6 different establishments over the past year. Credit card statements showing dinners, gifts, room service charges. GPS data from her car that tracked her movements to locations she'd never told me about. More photos, time-stamped and geotagged. She's been careful, Richard told me when he presented his findings. But not careful enough. People like this always slip up eventually. The night she told me she was visiting her mother in Connecticut, she was at a boutique hotel with Derek 45 minutes away. They ordered room service. Champagne and strawberries, according to the receipt. The weekend she said she was at a work conference in New York, she was in a beach house with Derek on Cape Cod. Richard found the Airbnb booking under Derek's name. The time she said she was having lunch with her girlfriends? Derek, always Derek. The same restaurant in a town 20 miles away, every Wednesday for 7 months straight. But the piece of evidence I needed most was a DNA test. Richard connected me with a geneticist who specialized in prenatal paternity testing, Dr. Hannah Levitz, one of the top experts in the field. She explained that there were 2 options, amniocentesis, which carried a small risk of pregnancy, or a non-invasive blood test that analyzed fetal DNA in the mother's bloodstream. The blood test is expensive but safe, Dr. Levitz explained. All we need is a vial of the mother's blood. I arranged it by telling Vanessa I wanted to run some routine health panels before the delivery. My doctor friend says it's a good idea to check iron levels, blood sugar, all of that. I told her, just to make sure everything's perfect for the baby. She didn't suspect a thing. Why would she? I was just being a caring husband. 1 week later, the results came back. Dr. Levitz called me personally. "Mr. Webb, I'm sorry to tell you this," she said, "but based on our analysis, there's a 0% probability that you are the biological father of this child." I thanked her, hung up, and sat in my car for 45 minutes, staring at nothing. 0%. Not a small chance. Not unlikely. 0. This was not a traditional confrontation. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I didn't confront Vanessa directly. Not yet. Instead, I called Claire. The DNA test confirmed it. I said. My voice sounded flat, even in my own ears. "The baby is Derek's." Silence on the other end. Then a shaky breath. "I was hoping it wasn't true," she said quietly. "I was hoping maybe I was wrong about everything. Maybe the messages were just, I don't know, a fantasy, a mistake. You weren't wrong." "Oh, God." Her voice broke. "Marcus, I'm so sorry. Don't be. You told me the truth. That's more than I can say for anyone else in my life right now." We met again that weekend, this time at a park near the outskirts of town. It was late October, and the leaves were falling around us in shades of orange and red as we walked along the empty trails. The air was crisp, carrying the smell of autumn decay. "I filed for divorce yesterday," Claire said. We were walking side by side, not quite touching, but close enough that I could feel the warmth of her presence. "Derek knows. He's been trying to call me nonstop, but I blocked his number." "How did he react?" "He panicked, started crying, begging, swearing it didn't mean anything, that it was just a mistake." She laughed bitterly. 14 months of sneaking around, hundreds of love messages, and suddenly it didn't mean anything. Funny how that works. "Did you tell him about me? About us talking?" "No. He thinks I found everything on my own. I didn't mention your name. I figured you should decide how you want to handle this." She looked at me. "What about you? What are you going to do?" I stopped walking and turned to face her. The sunlight filtered to the bare branches above us, casting dappled shadows across her face. "I'm going to wait until the baby is born," I said slowly. "I'm going to let Vanessa think everything is fine. I'm going to play the role of the happy, clueless husband. And then, when the timing is right, I'm going to expose everything. Every lie, every secret, every single thing she thought she got away with." Claire nodded slowly. "And Derek, him too. They planned this together. They'll face it together." She was quiet for a moment. A gust of wind sent leaves swirling around us. Then she said something that surprised me. "Good." Her voice was harder now, edged with steel. "I want to be there when it happens. I want to see their faces." The baby was born on December 14th at 3:22 a.m. after 16 hours of labor. It was a boy. Vanessa named him Ethan. I stood in the delivery room, held her hand through the contractions, told her she was doing great. When the baby finally arrived, I cut the umbilical cord. The nurses handed him to me first, and I felt him, warm and wriggling and impossibly small, in my arms. "He's beautiful," Vanessa said, exhausted but glowing. "He looks just like you." He didn't. He had Derek's eyes, Derek's nose, Derek's jawline. But I smiled and nodded and played the role of the proud father. Inside, I felt nothing but cold, focused rage. Over the next few weeks, I continued to gather information. Richard kept tabs on Derek and Vanessa. I learned that Derek had promised Vanessa he would leave Claire once the baby was born. A fresh start, just the three of them. He never did. Instead, he started making excuses. "It's not the right time. The divorce is getting complicated. I need a few more months." Meanwhile, he was already seeing someone else on the side. A 25-year-old paralegal at his firm. Vanessa didn't know. She was too busy juggling motherhood and covering her tracks to notice that her lover was already moving on. Meanwhile, Claire and I grew closer. What started as two people united by betrayal became something more. We met frequently. At coffee shops, parks, hotel rooms far from town, where no one would recognize us. At first, we talked about our situations, shared our pain, strategized our next moves. Sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy, Claire confided one evening. We were sitting in a quiet corner of a wine bar, 2 glasses of Merlot between us. Like the last 10 years of my life were a lie. Like I never really knew him at all. I know exactly what you mean, I said. I look at Vanessa sometimes and I think, who are you? Who were you this whole time? Does it ever get easier? I don't know. Not yet. But somewhere along the way, the conversations became longer. The silences became comfortable. The touches became intentional. A hand on her arm, a brush of fingers, a lingering look. 3 months after Ethan was born, Claire and I slept together for the first time. It wasn't planned. We had dinner at a restaurant far from town, and afterward, neither of us wanted to go home. So we got a room at a hotel nearby. We told ourselves we were just talking, just keeping each other company. And then she kissed me. Afterward, lying in that hotel room with her head on my chest, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Is this revenge? She asked quietly, tracing patterns on my skin with her fingertip. Maybe, I said, but it doesn't feel like revenge. It feels like something else. She lifted her head and looked at me. What? A second chance. The plan came together over the next 9 months. I slowly transferred my assets into protected accounts and trusts. I restructured my business to shield it from divorce proceedings. I met with my attorney and created a paper trail that documented every lie Vanessa had told me, every piece of evidence of her deception. Claire did the same on her end. She finalized her divorce from Derek. He barely fought it, too distracted by his new girlfriend, and she walked away with a modest settlement. She rented a small apartment on the other side of town under her maiden name. We kept our relationship secret, not because we were ashamed, but because we wanted to control the narrative. We wanted to be the ones writing the ending. Then came the moment we had been waiting for. Vanessa's parents were hosting a large family gathering for Ethan's first birthday. All of her relatives would be there, her friends, her co-workers. Vanessa had been planning the party for months. A huge affair with catering, decorations, a photo booth, the works. And, as I had arranged through a fake invitation sent from Vanessa's email account, Derek. Hi, Derek. I know things have been complicated, but it would mean so much to Ethan if you could be there. Please come. V. He showed up at noon, wearing a nervous smile, clearly uncertain why Vanessa had suddenly invited him after months of distance. I walked into that party an hour later with a smile on my face and a folder in my hand. Vanessa greeted me at the door, kissed my cheek, and whispered, I'm so glad you made it. I know work has been crazy. I wouldn't miss this for the world, I said. Not for anything. The party was in full swing. About 60 people mingling in the backyard. Children running around. Caterers circulating with trays of appetizers. Ethan was in his grandmother's arms, wearing a tiny birthday crown. 30 minutes in, I stood up and clinked my glass. Everyone, can I have your attention, please? The conversations died down. 60 pairs of eyes turned toward me. I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate Ethan's first birthday. I smiled, letting the moment stretch. This past year has been enlightening, and I think it's only right that we acknowledge everyone who made this moment possible. Vanessa smiled nervously. She was standing near the cake table, her hand instinctively moving to smooth her dress. Marcus, what are you doing? I'm telling the truth, sweetheart. I opened the folder. For over 2 years, my wife Vanessa has been having an affair with Derek Donovan. I pointed across the yard. That man right there, standing by the window, who is also, according to a DNA test I had performed, Ethan's biological father. The room erupted. Gasps. Whispers. Vanessa's mother clutched her chest. Vanessa's father's face turned red with rage. Guests started pulling out their phones, recording. Derek's face went white as paper. He took a step backward, looking for an exit. I have receipts, messages, hotel records, GPS data, and a paternity test right here. I continued, my voice calm and steady. Anyone who wants to see the evidence is welcome to it. Every single lie she told me over the past 2 years. I have documentation. Vanessa rushed toward me, her face twisting between panic and fury. Marcus, please, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I stepped back, keeping the folder out of her reach. You planned this from the beginning. You used me for my money. You made me believe that baby was mine. And you did it while promising Derek that you would leave me once the time was right. Derek tried to slip toward the side gate, but someone was already there, blocking his path. Claire, going somewhere, Derek? She asked calmly, her arms crossed. He froze. His face went from white to gray. Claire, what are you? How did you? You told me you were working late, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You told me you loved me. You told me our problems were fixable. And the whole time, you were with her. She looked at Vanessa, and she was with you. I walked over to stand beside Claire. I took her hand. Everyone, this is Claire Donovan, Direct's ex-wife. I paused, letting the words land. And for the past year, she and I have been together. The gasps that followed were almost worth all the pain. Vanessa's face twisted into something ugly. You were cheating on me? No, I said. I was healing. With someone who actually deserved me. Someone who told me the truth when you couldn't. I handed the folder to Vanessa's father. Everything you need is in there, sir. I'm filing for divorce on Monday. I'm requesting sole custody of Ethan based on fraud, paternity deception, and documented infidelity. And I'm done. Vanessa was crying now. Ugly, heaving sobs. Derek was trying to explain himself to a crowd that didn't want to hear it. Vanessa's mother was shouting. Someone was calling for the caterers to leave. Claire squeezed my hand. Ready? Ready. We walked out of that party together, leaving the chaos behind us. The fallout was everything I had imagined, and more. Vanessa lost everything. Her family was humiliated, and several of her relatives stopped speaking to her. Her friends, many of whom had known about the affair and said nothing, were now exposed too, and the social fallout was brutal. She was fired from her job when the story spread through her company. Derek fared even worse. His company terminated him within a week of the scandal becoming public. Turns out, affairs with co-workers violate most firms' codes of conduct, especially when they become front-page gossip. He tried to sue for wrongful termination. He lost. The custody battle was brutal but short. My lawyers presented the DNA evidence, the messages documenting her admission of fraud, the paternity deception, and the systematic lying. The judge was not sympathetic to Vanessa. This court takes very seriously any attempt to deceive a spouse regarding paternity. Judge Morrison said during the ruling, the evidence presented shows a clear pattern of calculated deception. I was granted primary custody of Ethan. Hey, erase the thing about that little boy. He wasn't my biological son. I knew that. Every time I looked at him, I could see traces of Derek in his features. But over the course of that first year, I had bonded with him. I had held him when he cried at 3 a.m. I had fed him bottles when Vanessa was too tired. I had watched him take his first steps, heard his first words, been there for every moment. He didn't choose his parents. He didn't choose to be born into deception, and I wasn't going to punish him for their sins. I legally adopted Ethan 6 months after the divorce was finalized. Today, he calls me Dad. He doesn't know the full truth yet. He's only 3. But one day, when he's old enough to understand, he'll tell him everything. Vanessa tried to appeal the custody decision twice. Both times she lost. She now sees Ethan 1 week in a month, supervised by a court-appointed monitor. Derek moved to another state. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he remarried about a year later, then divorced again after his new wife caught him cheating. Some people never learn. It's been 3 years since that phone call from Claire. 3 years since a stranger's voice shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. Claire and I are married now. We had a small ceremony at a courthouse, just the 2 of us and a few close friends. No big production. No false promises. Just 2 people who had been through hell and found each other on the other side. We have a daughter together. Lily, who just turned 2. Ethan adores his little sister. He's protective of her in that sweet, serious way that 4-year-olds have. Claire and I built something real out of the ashes of our betrayals. We didn't plan to fall in love. We didn't even plan to like each other. But sometimes, the people who understand your pain the best are the ones who can help you heal. Sometimes, the person who saves you is the one you least expect. I don't regret what I did. I don't regret the revenge. I don't regret the public exposure. And I definitely don't regret Claire. Some people might say I went too far, that I should have just walked away quietly, that revenge is petty, that the high road is more noble. But I believe in accountability. I believe cheaters should face consequences. I believe that when someone tries to use you, manipulate you, steal years of your life through deception, you have every right to fight back. Vanessa thought she was clever. Derek thought he was untouchable. They both thought I was too trusting, too oblivious, too easy to fool. They were wrong. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. Share it with someone who's been through something similar. Drop a comment telling me your story. I read every single one. And if you're going through something like this right now, if you're being lied to, cheated on, or manipulated, know this. You don't have to take it. You deserve better. And sometimes, the best revenge is living your truth while they choke on theirs. See you in the next story.